And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Double Double podcast. I got Doug Stevens with me as always. I'm your host as well, Darren Breyer, here for our final, not just Double Double podcast of the year, but for me and Doug at least, our final show here doing it. It's been quite the journey. I feel like we started in November, around December here with it. We've had a long stretch through June. Doing basketball. We both have a lot of things going on. We'll get into that a little bit longer with it. But, Doug, as we get into our final show here, the season is finally over. It's been a long journey, and the Celtics, the Boston Celtics, the Cavs for Mavs dream dies. What is our initial just thoughts here of the season wrapping up and the Green winning that championship?
So, Darren, my initial thoughts, and again, this has been a lot of fun for me, and I'm glad we're getting the finale together. And but my initial thoughts, and we'll touch on that later. I think the right team won the championship this season. I think Boston throughout the year was a special team, and I thought they were always one of the best teams, if not the best teams, in terms of starting five and their roster overall. I think the right team won the NBA championship. You know, the injuries and stuff along the way definitely are questionable, but I think the right team won, so I'm not too upset with that.
Well, I know we'll dive a little bit into that here in a few minutes with it, but all right, we'll get into let's fire away here. Celtics, they win the championship, beat the Mavericks in 5 games. Let's get real. Our last pod was before the finals. And I picked the Celtics, I believe, in 4. I think I picked or 6. They ended up winning in 5. You had the Mavs in 6. My brother had the Mavs in 6 that episode as well. There was a lot of people that had Mavs. Again, I feel at the end of the day, the depth was always a big issue. So I've been waiting weeks to ask you this. Was it just in the moment? But you said that the Dallas's depth was better.
Yeah. I got caught up because I thought beating the Timberwolves was really impressive because obviously the Timberwolves have just beaten the Nuggets, and the way Dallas beat the Timberwolves, it just made me a believer in what they could do. And I just undersold how good the Celtics defense was and how many bodies they could throw at Luka, at Kyrie. It also doesn't help when your supporting cast shoots like 18% on wide open threes, but that's a different story. They missed a lot of shots that were good shots, and that Kyrie didn't show up.
That fooled us, right?
They fooled us for sure. I was fooled for sure. Luka did about as much as he possibly could without having a running mate in that series, and obviously he's got to improve his defense long term. He's got to make some changes with his game, and everybody sees that. I don't know if we need to pile on at this point. They just lost the finals, but he definitely has some changes that need to happen to his game. A bigger commitment to defense is one of them. You cannot be a traffic cone in the playoffs. In the regular season, that stuff does not matter, Darren. And in the playoffs, he was attacked relentlessly in the playoffs by Boston. Every switch, they're wearing him out. You got to be better than that. The foul out that game, they were down 3 points with what, 2 minutes to go, and he wasn't on the court. That game could have been drastically different if he threw away a couple fouls in that stretch of having 6 fouls. 2 of those were throwaway fouls. One was a frustration foul at like almost center court on Peyton Pritchard, where he was just hacking him for no reason. And there's just stupid stuff that he's
the one that got him fouled out.
He's fighting the referees the whole game while trying to score on Boston. It has to stop.
So there's levels to the championship run. There's very few teams that just skip the process. Yep. Unless you get something worked out. The Raptors are the one team that maybe doesn't make any sense in terms of where they were and then got to that's like to win a championship in the recent history. But if you look at the process of the Celtics compared to the Mavericks, I mean, this was set up for the Celtics to dominate, and that's what they did. There wasn't. Game 2 was Dallas's chance. As soon as they lost Game 2, the series was over. There was no chance for them. That was the game for them to steal, have a little momentum coming home, maybe ride the ship to where they get another one at home and it's 2-2. But even then, you could just tell Dallas isn't ready. No. I mean, I was telling Tyler yesterday on his show, how much, now looking back at it, Doug, was Gafford and the Lively center combination overhyped?
I did the
In
combination.
this matchup.
Are you saying combination?
Yes, in this matchup.
Because Gafford was unplayable.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. So Gafford played 11 minutes in game
but everybody
5.
was like, "Oh, we're gonna this is great. They have these two centers against Porzingis and Horford and a lot." I'm like, they're not as skilled as these guys. What are we talking about?
I mean, PJ Washington was terrible. Also, it was bad. It was a lot of bad basketball.
PJ, the guy you trusted the most, is that the guy?
Yeah, he fooled the hell out of me with the Timberwolves series. I was.
The
way they guarded Edwards, I was convinced they did such a good job on him overall. I mean, I know he had some good game, but I was just convinced. How bad do you think the Timberwolves would have been a better matchup for Boston? You do? I feel like Tatum and Brown would have done the same thing to Edwards. They would have worn him down, and there's no other creators besides Edwards either. They would have been in the same situation as the Mavericks, in my opinion.
The best matchup, it was Denver. Everybody knew
of course.
That was the one thing. And honestly, that was a team. And we got to give credit to Boston here too, Doug. Is like,
well,
20 losses on the year. That's a pretty good season right there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, I feel like the right team won the championship, in my opinion. Would it have been a better series with Denver? Of course.
Absolutely.
But Boston did dominate this season pretty much.
We never talked. This is the first kind of game that Porzingis game 1, right? Like that Porzingis game 1 still to me, where he just came out like a flamethrower. Kneeing people. He played like the first 8 minutes of that second quarter.
Yeah.
To me, I still go back to that moment. I know this isn't Kirk Gibson. It wasn't that, but there's a certain thing when you watch, you're just like that 8-minute stretch with me is like, this team's they won't lose a game. So they lost game 4, but that's where they're going to dominate this team. Like kind of, it just added to the fuel of this team has no chance when they have Porzingis now being able to hit 30-footers, and you have Horford motivated as absolute get out to win his championship. What did you think of Horford? That's kind of a good storyline.
I mean, just look at how he was treated in the Eastern Conference series, and then how much different he played in the finals. He was hunted all 3 series in the Eastern Conference, and then he shows up and he's playing good basketball in the finals because at the end of the day, the switches weren't as easy and all that. It just tightened up for Dallas, and it was drastically different. But I mean, Donovan Mitchell attacked Horford relentlessly. Halliburton and then put him in the pick and roll. Miles Turner had a great series against Horford. It's just very interesting how all that changed once Kristaps got back and was able to play also. His presence helped them quite a bit. I mean, really his ability to stretch the floor.
Shots there too in that.
I know.
I was like, who the heck is this guy? I was like,
he definitely had a stretch there where it was like, wow, this is something. I mean, he's a good player, that's for sure.
How about Holiday? That Holiday just before where did you see the guard play? And then we can kind of move on angles. This can throw Irving into this. We text early in the series. Irving was not good early in the series. He was kind of inefficient.
Wasn't good late.
It wasn't good. It basically was a bad series for him, which is shocking to say because of how good he was when he played with the Cavs there, his vital runs there. But I don't know. I don't know. What do you kind of make of your kind of thoughts of the guard play there? Like Holiday really proved that. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but let's say he wins another 2 rings on the Celtics. Well, now we're talking is he on that list of guys? So I'm just saying he's putting himself in a mix of rare company with where his role is on teams, how important he is to winning. I mean, he was what do you think? 3rd best player in this series. I mean, he was good.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I know Tyler's been beating that drum, but he was. I mean, he was definitely their 3rd best player for sure.
Do you think Brown rightfully got it then, or do you think?
Yeah, I voted for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown swung those first 2 games, and Jaylen Brown was the best. Looked like Luka was always the best player on the floor, but Jaylen Brown looked every bit as almost just as good as Luka was in those first 2 games. I understand that Tatum came on strong, but that doesn't change my mind because the series was already over once it got to 3-0. But You were asking about Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, I think, is going to go down as one of the best defensive point guards of all time. He's going to go down as one of the worst, a franchise's worst traded away player of all time. The Bucks got tired of this guy, and all of a sudden he ends up in Boston, and it all just like you pair him with the two great wings and Derek White, and oh my God, this team looks like they're going to run through everybody. I mean, the Bucks really literally gave him away, and it just comes back to kill him. You know, it's crazy how this guy's career has kind of gone. You know, he wins one with the Bucks, you know, doesn't have a great season. They kind of give up on him, and then he ends up in Boston and now wins the title as the third best player on a championship team. It's excellent. I mean, he made Kyrie's life a nightmare. He was good in switches on Luka. He was good on offense. I mean, it's just all together. He had a really good series. You know, that game 2 was that game 2 where he had 26, 11 rebounds. I mean, shot 50% from the 3 in that game. He did exactly what Boston needed him to do in every game, and that's exactly what you want from your number 3 guy.
I love his little move where he gets to gets to the right or the left box there, and he has his right shoulder on the defender.
Yeah, and he just abuses people.
He's so good at with his left hand of he just has that little up fake, and he's able to finish with the left hand. Gosh, if I played him in a series, that move would be just. If I was on the other side, I'd be like, my gosh, I don't know how much often he did that to your Cavs, but
he did. He did it to Mobley and Mobley a couple times, and I'm like, why? How is this possible? How is he getting it over Mobley? And he's just so strong, and he's got that lower center of gravity than a big fella. That Peyton Pritchard shot. Anytime Peyton Pritchard has the ball with the clock winding down and it's anywhere near half court, it goes in. I don't know what that guy does, how often he works on that shot. He's banked him in. He swished him. He had a little bit of everything. Every time in the Cavs series, it felt like we made a little run at halftime. Peyton Pritchard hit a half-court shot to make it feel like it was over. I hate that guy.
He's kind of one of those pest type players, especially with and Tatum, like you said, he comes on late, he finishes there. What do you think about Jolton Joe Mazzulla? Does he get any credit for this win? How do you look at him as a coach? Does that change anything?
I mean, he's a good coach. He's got to be. I don't think you can be.
He
a
took
bad
a lot of
coach
heat. You both like Bill Simmons. Obviously, we've heard he's ripped on him many times over the years.
Dad's not a fan of him at all.
No, Dad is
he probably is now. He probably is now. But I mean,
but you get my point. There's also a lot of other. He was very questionable in some decisions last year with the timeouts and stuff. But I always say you just got to give people some time with these things. Giving a coach in 1 year, like a young coach on a team like that, you got to expect a little bit, as long as they don't just go to complete crap. Well, he never had that. The guys played hard for him, and this year he reaped the benefits of it.
Well, Darren, let's think about this then, because another way to look at this is Boston. Brad Stevens moves to the GM role after coaching. They obviously have the situation with Udoka come up, but to me, they never really hesitated on moving Joe Mazzulla to that front spot. There was belief in him right away. I mean, he got hired pretty quickly after Udoka was done, and people were kind of questioning what was the decision making there. And they supported him from the start. So there must have been something that they saw when he was an assistant and all that kind of stuff where they had some definite trust in him, and it's paid off. They're champs.
And this is where the Brad Stevens things come back too. I feel like him being a young coach that had success, he's in a rare position. He's very Boston's set up to be. As long as he's there, they're going to be fine. You can just tell he knows what he's doing. And he's very knowledgeable at things, and he's patient, and he doesn't overreact. I'd be worried if I was an Eastern Conference. You guys know that. You see him more. You live in that.
Oh, yeah,
you dealt with it. They might not have always beat you, but they're always going to be there usually. That Ainge, that smart. I feel like he's in that same category. And he's coached. He's a proven coach. He gets that. So I feel like that part's huge when your GM was a good coach and then understands how to separate the two. We'll get to a guy that knows a thing or two about that in my news and notes that passed away recently, and how good, maybe the best at GM / coaching / played of all time. All right, so before we get to other things with the best and worst of like maybe the overall playoffs, I got to say, Doug, for me, the final takeaway from this finals was, though I just wish as an NBA fan us doing this show the whole time, I wish we had a better ending to the finals. Like, to me, this has to rank as one of the worst finals in recent memory history. And then I go, last year's was pretty bad too. And then you look back, and I mean, there was a few competitive games between the Warriors and Cavs there before that 2016, which is the best one of recent history in terms of just
it's the best finals ever.
Well, you won it, but for sure. But I agree. I can separate it out and say it's still definitely the most. But you know what I mean? Like, as a fan, if I'm watching, I'm looking into these series, and I'm like, I'm like, last year, does Denver, Miami really excite you?
No.
I mean, Denver, and then you have Milwaukee, Phoenix.
It wasn't bad. Giannis.
It wasn't a bad
Giannis
series. It wasn't, but it wasn't an epic battle of two teams on the right. You get my point. Like, this series didn't even live up to the hype game wise. Game 2 was the best, and then nothing else really came close to it.
LA and Miami wasn't good. Toronto and the Warriors was bogged down by injuries.
There's a couple of games in there, but like I said, not enough for me to say this was impactful in any way.
What was the best? Was the best finals then since 16 Heat Spurs with the Ray Allen shot? And then before then was probably LA and Boston.
No, I'd say Mavericks Heat again when they won with.
You thought that was a good series
with Dirk? Yeah, I liked that. That was one of my favorite ones.
Oh man,
I like that. I mean, 6.
Yeah, but I guess the reason I don't think of it is because we didn't get to see LeBron at his best. If LeBron was like playing his best,
yeah, but we got to see Dirk at his best. That's what I like about it. We got to see him, and we got to see LeBron, Bosh, and Wade fail in crunch time minutes in good games. In good, for me, it's like, is it a 30-point game every time? Is it going in? That's how I look at it. And that went to 6. That was an underdog win.
Yeah.
Like now the Pistons, they beat the Lakers in 2004. Again, underdog win, but not to me a great final. So I'm going to do this is one of the things I'm kind of working on an article with, Doug, that you would tell you I was trying to write more about, doing more writing. Just looking back into this stuff as I've kind of done over the last week is the Eastern Conference for a long period of time just wasn't able to put up a contender enough. So, like when you're throwing out the Nets out there every year, and you have the Spurs with the boring offense, you're not going to get like these matchups that are going to excite a lot of people over time. So I don't know, like a lot of people complain too about the NBA Finals not feeling like the NBA Finals, like the logo not being there. I don't know.
It felt like it mattered more before. It definitely does.
So what's your thoughts? And that's my.
Was it COVID? Was it COVID that changed the way we felt?
You can't put a Finals logo in there now because of the.
I agree. I miss the logos. Logos used to look a lot better than they do now. I do miss that also. I think that's a good point by you. It does not feel the same.
Do you think it's ESPN coverage?
Well, ESPN just stinks in general.
That's what I mean. If they go to like NBC or some new network,
I think NBC would give a crap and they would put effort into it. I think ESPN just knows that they're going to get a decent chunk of viewership, even though it's going to probably be less than the year before, unless we get a superstar, your 2 good superstar teams. But yeah, it's stunk. It doesn't feel as big as it once did. But is that as simply as not having Steph and LeBron? I mean, that kind of has to matter too, probably.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking.
You don't get the casual viewer without guys like that.
So as we get into best and worst of the finals playoffs, maybe that's what it is. Is like, are these stars not quite able to draw enough yet? Like, is the storylines not there?
See, I'm surprised though. Do you think the streaming numbers are a lot bigger, like the illegal downloads and stuff like that? They have to be massive.
Probably, yeah.
Because I'm guessing that, like in Slovakia or wherever Luka's from, isn't it Slovakia? Is that wherever he's from? I'm guessing they probably all don't have ESPN, but I'm guessing they're probably all watching the games somehow. Like internationally, I'm guessing the game's getting consumed in a certain way. I mean, I don't know. Do you think the rise of illegal streaming and things like that affect the numbers in a big way too? It has to me.
But it can't affect the quality of coverage still. Like that's for me.
No, I know. I understand. But, No,
I think it definitely affects.
I can only listen to so much Stephen A. At this point. It's just they've got to go a different direction with the finals.
Well, I just feel like it's too it's not there yet. Like when we're watching, I'm like, I'm the Stanley Cup. I'm like, all right, I'm watching the Stanley Cup Finals. Like they're making.
The logo is right in front of you. It matters. People don't touch the cup until it's like it matters. Like it doesn't feel like it matters now. It feels like it matters. Like it's a check on your resume, Darren. Like that's what it feels like.
I do feel like that. Like in some ways, you could argue that the in-season tournament was more had more pageantry shown by the league with the
Did you see that post today, Darren? Did you see that post by NBA on ESPN today?
No.
It had a dual screen. It had the Lakers in-season championship on the top and the Boston Celtics NBA championship on the bottom. And it said 2 iconic franchises, 2 championships this year. Are you kidding me? The most meaningless thing that ever existed in basketball.
The coach got fired.
It's getting compared to the NBA championship. That's why we don't feel like it matters. It doesn't feel like it matters because the in-season tournament, like Brandon's saying, had more hype around it.
So this gets to a bigger point that
that is terrible, man.
Maybe I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there with it. It's like I feel like that's where it's not. It's watering down. It's like the NBA has to do a better job of promoting these things, and they have to build up the storylines a little bit more. They have to because there's new blood in the water. And they have to understand that is part of it. Like Jokic, they have to build up differently. Luka, they have to build up differently. They have to build up Tatum differently. But these stars are different than are they generational stars? Luka might be, but Luka always looks by the time semifinals comes around, he looks like me trying to run up a hill. It's not good. You know what I mean? Like he's not. He looks like he is dying.
Darren, who is our biggest American star that's not over 30?
That we could actually promote?
Yeah. Well, sure, yeah.
Okay, or like you're saying, just best player. Like that's
who is our biggest star? Do you think right now? Who's not Steph Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant, all those guys? Under 30, who is our biggest NBA star?
Oh man, that's a tough one because my son mentions. It's funny you say that because the other day he's like, "Hey, Dad, look, I got an SGA card," and I was like, "Oh, that's sick." Because he was a high-end scorer. And like my son's 8, right? So for like the last 2 years, SGA's been good. So, but my point is to you, like I was thinking was exactly what you just said. Is he able to take it to the next level? Like I didn't see that. I don't see that with those type of guys. So I would say if I'm looking at maybe, I don't know, who's going to take it to the next.
The 3 names that come to my mind, Darren, but it is SGA, like your son pointed out. It's probably Anthony Edwards in there somewhere, and that third guy. I feel like we're lacking a third. Like I feel like we're lacking star power, like legitimate superstar power. Definitely. And I understand those guys are generational, and we don't always get those guys. But the best players in the league right now are all foreign.
It's Edwards.
It's Edwards and.
Edwards is the guy.
But look at the commercials that we're getting. We get SGA singing a stupid song with Chet. Like we're not getting good commercials. Just because you're in a commercial doesn't mean it's a quality piece that's helping you reach more viewership. I don't know.
Edwards is the most marketable guy, but I feel like the Minnesota thing will be interesting for him going long term with that. You still have a few veterans like Paul George and Leonard, but like to me they're not studs. The other guy, too, that maybe is marketable, but he still has a long ways to go is Zion. And so you have a few
he does a terrible job of promoting himself. And
I think you're right. I think that's a big issue with it. Giannis is probably the guy in the NBA.
But he's not American either.
No, but I'm just saying he's the guy if I was the NBA. He's the guy that you're building everything around right now. He has the personality a little bit to kind of uphold it.
Then I
guess Tatum in Boston –
it doesn't feel like anybody likes Tatum besides Boston fans.
He doesn't do it for me.
Like as good as he is as a player, it just doesn't feel like anybody cares or likes him.
Do you think there's a Ja Morant rise? Maybe he takes over some of that. We like to build people up.
I would like to see. Ja Morant has a definite a large fan base.
He would be maybe the guy. Him and Edwards are the 2 guys maybe. That would have star power if you met in the Western Conference Finals. Jokic has the skill and the ability, but you have the 2 stars. These guys would bring some flair to it. But again, Luka, because Luka's good too, but you got to have I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I think the next guys are.
I think we're missing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Edwards, I think Ja potentially, I think he got derailed a little bit by some of his own situations, which it happens. It totally happens. And then SGA, I do think playing in Oklahoma might stifle that a little bit worse. I think that probably stifles worse than Minnesota does.
Well, as we get into like best of the playoffs and worse, what were some of your best things that you saw this way? I saw some upsets. I did like to see. I saw that this year. That was good to see.
I think my best is the fact that JB Bickerstaff got fired after we lost. No, I think the Indiana Pacers deserve some credit, Darren. I didn't expect them to get as far as they did. I think they deserve some credit. I thought they, if we go back and really look at that Celtics series, they definitely pushed the Celtics more than the series record indicates. There was games in there that game one they gave away. Like Darren, we came on the show and we talked about it. They gave away game one. That's a
good call. I like that one.
I do think they deserve some praise. And at the end of the day, yeah, they got beat 4-1, but the Mavericks had a damn good run too.
You know what? It's funny you said that because I hadn't thought about that enough. That's a good call. The Pacers did give them a freaking run for their money. They did. They actually did.
You know what they did? We're just going to score, and if you guys score,
the damn guard that was killing them, Newhart, right?
Nemhart.
Right. He was just murdering them.
Yeah.
But then Nemhart killed them at the end of the last two games they win. So I guess that's a good call there. It's funny you said that. I also had Knicks, Brunson. Just because I thought they overcame a lot of injuries, and I feel like Brunson, Tyler, if you're out there, I thought he showed another level for me. Me and Tyler can debate this until we're dead in the face, but to me, I look at him a lot differently. I still think this year he was a top 6 player. He had nobody around him by the time that series came. I still feel like he's going to be a top 15 player now going forward. That's how I look at him as a perennial all-star.
I do too. I think he's an all-NBA. He's an all-NBA player.
For me, that was one of the best. I didn't realize that was coming.
In New York, as popular as Jalen Brunson is in New York right now, there's no reason he shouldn't do 100 commercials this offseason. I would put him everywhere if I was the Knicks. I would have him in everything I could possibly get him in because, that's a big series, and he's a damn good basketball player.
Yeah, he can back it up.
I'm sure he talks a lot out on the court. We don't get to hear him talk a ton. I would like to see him, them try to market him a little bit stronger too. Villanova's as American as it gets.
It does. That's true.
But I do think they should market Jalen Brunson more. I do think that he is his game is wonderful. I like his game.
And I gotta say the skill for me, like just overall this play as I'm watching some of it's not efficient, but like the one-on-one skill is just at a different level right now.
It's incredible.
And that's why coaches now just run so many sets to where they get to one-on-one and pick and roll.
Yeah.
And I get it. At the end of the day, that's where the bread is buttered. So it's interesting though.
We could use more floppy though. We could definitely use a little bit more floppy.
I'm still disappointed with the reviews. I just hate.
Yeah.
Doug, it's a huge thing for me when I watch it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are we? I'm sorry. It's a big thing for me.
What game were we watching? I think we came on right after. Scott Foster did a review with 0.3 left on the clock. He got on the TV screen one more time before we left. And I feel like me and you came on here and we made fun of him because he had to get on the TV camera one more time.
Yes,
that's exactly the problem with the game. He comes on to do a review with less than a second left. Less than a second.
It was bad.
That's a problem.
That was bad.
It cannot be the ref show.
It cannot be the ref show. I remember that. That was funny. That to me, that's some of the bad for me. Minnesota Sixers. That was kind of some of the bad in the playoff. The Sixers showed some life with Max. I guess bad in terms of disappointing. I was hoping for some more for them a little bit.
When's Embiid going to get held responsible for all his failures in the playoffs?
I think next year
on a national scale. On a national scale,
I got to feel like next year will be a big one.
He's failed every single year.
No, I hear you.
I don't know how other players do not get a pass like he gets.
They do not.
I don't get it.
Well, do you have any other best and worst? I have a couple others, but do you have a few other ones along the way here?
What's a worst?
All right, I'm gonna get one up.
Yeah, go ahead.
How about your Cavs? The Cavs is that best or worse? How do you, or is that like kind of what people say? It's neutral. It's a whole. Like, Doug, where do you feel actually with this one?
I don't think we were the worst.
Come on, you guys were pretty pissed.
We lost Mitchell.
How about JB? You wanted him fired. How's that?
Remember when I came on here or when I was so defeated because we lost Mitchell for Game 3. We just had tied the series 1-1 in Boston. It felt like all the momentum, and then Donovan Mitchell doesn't play. That was the worst. That felt really bad. That hurt.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't think we were going to win the series, but when you're 1-1, you're coming home, and I'm like, okay, Donovan Mitchell, he's got to play. Nope, and that was the end of it. So I don't know. That was a pretty low point. All right.
Let me get this one up here. Is this worse?
Oh boy.
Let's get this. It's like Doug.
The coverage has got to change with this.
It's like Doug walking into our podcast.
Oh my gosh.
What an ass.
It's just like, you're not the main character.
What a feel for the game. Desire. What a passion. 11. That walk. I'm like, I was like, that's like me walking in my face.
That is a strut. That is a absolute.
Is that worst or best? I don't know where that goes on that.
We've got to get this guy off the cover.
I mean, I used to love Stephen A. was my guy on Best Damn Sports Show as a kid growing up.
That's been 25 years.
No, I know, but it's funny. Like, it's me like looking back on that stuff. Like, I was like, oh, I love what he was on. I love his opinion was there. Like, even and then funny how it's just funny how things change over time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's just there with it.
Stephen A. show.
I also feel like one of the worst for me. I was a little disappointed in the Thunder losing to the Mavericks. Still, that's a worst. That was the worst team for me on that side of things there with it, and so that was
They need a second creator still, Darren. They need a guy that they can go to besides SGA.
I hear you, and then of course it's the Nuggets, and again the injuries for this league just continue.
Injuries were the worst. Injuries definitely were the worst.
It does. It continues to kill us playoff time. I've always said they should just go to 65 games. Like, it will help the league. I know the money. I don't know. Product will be better. I've watched the league long enough to know the product will be better after this long. There's only so many Michael Jordans out there, and I guarantee there is something too though. When you make this much money, and they have some of these guys, like, they would be playing through a lot of these injuries. You know what I mean? Like, I think some of these guys would have played through them 50 years ago. You get my point? Like, and that's where it's a little, I don't know. It's interesting looking at that stuff.
It is. It's unfortunate where we've gotten to the game, and that is definitely on LeBron a little bit, I do believe, but it's definitely changed, and it's not changed for the better. I do like that they're trying to implement rules to make guys play more, though. I do like that they're trying
the wars thing. That's a good one.
I do like that they're trying to get guys to have to, hey, do you want to have this? Do you want to be able to make all NBA? You got to be out there. I do like that they're trying.
No, I like that too. Hold them accountable for that stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of LeBron, what do you think coaching hires? You think they'll end up with Redick?
If they wanted Redick, they'd already have Redick.
It's weird that they haven't hired him. I just feel like
they missed on Hurley when we had heard Redick was the guy before Hurley. They missed on Hurley. If they wanted Redick, they'd have Redick, in my opinion. So I guess they don't want Redick.
It's starting to make me think Redick's going to be more their guy. Like, I just feel like
they just end up with Redick. Like, he's just.
And I think he'll be a good coach. I
think he will too.
I just don't know if I want him with the Lakers.
His offensive mind is really great. Listen to him on the podcast and stuff like that. I do think he's going to be good. I would almost love I know this is outside the realm of really possibility, but if we could get Atkinson or Borrego to sign with the Cavs, and if we could somehow get Redick to be an assistant head coach with us for 1 year, just to groom him and then go take a head coaching job, if somehow we could swing that, that'd be fantastic. Man, that's like a home run. That's a home run, but I understand. He's going to be the Lakers coach, I would assume. I cannot believe they offered all that money to Hurley for just him to turn him down. That is rough. It's not a great job. They're not a great job right now. They're just not.
LeBron's at the end of his career, right?
And he's a free agent. He's not even on the roster right now.
So that's not always the best when you have him like that. So and when you have LeBron, he dictates a lot of it, and I think coaches want to know that they're. I mean, Ham just got fired during the season after he won the in-season tournament. We just talked about that as well. So
well, I do think Ham was.
Yeah,
that guy's going to be an assistant the rest of his career.
Yeah, that is everything. All right, hey, so you have your coaching search. Who do you want for the Cavs?
It's, in my opinion, it's Borrego, it's Kenny Atkinson. It's between those two for me. I'm good with either guy. I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable with both guys taking over. I saw some Cavs fans today talk about wanting to bring in Monty Williams. Are you kidding me? What? Monty Williams? Are you insane?
28-game
Detroit just paid him $60 million to go away. The Suns, he lost the Suns locker room and they shipped him out. No, man, no, absolutely not. I don't like. People are always like, what have Borrego and Atkinson done in comparison? Well, until Chris Paul got to Phoenix, they weren't doing. They had a couple good years. Congratulations, Borrego and Atkinson never had the talent that Monty Williams has had throughout his career. Absolutely not. That is insane to me.
I think the Borrego one would be a good hire for you guys.
I did think he's. I would like I said, Kenny Atkinson or Borrego. I think those are good hires.
What do you kind of make of? So you talked about Williams a little bit, getting dismissed. We kind of getting the news and notes here a little bit too with it. You met. How about Siakam? He gets basically $190 million from the Pacers. Seemed automatic. That's a lot of money, though.
Seems like a lot of money. I don't know. I think
you got to keep them, right? It's the Pacers.
Yeah, I think you have to because you can't get stars like that to come anyway. So you have to get
the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean they had a good season, a successful season.
But that's what kind of gets you overpaid too, sometimes.
But I also think you got to consider that the TV deals are coming in next year, so the money's going to be a little bit less of a burden. I don't know. I think they had to sign him to what he wanted, so I'm not going to bash it. I think that's what they had to do. They did what they had to do.
It's just interesting. He gets the 190. For him, congratulations on a great deal with it. What do you kind of make of the draft coming up? You got your boy Holmes in there. You got Obi Toppin. You're wearing it right now. Where would you like to see him go? Kind of one of the more intriguing prospects right now.
Yeah, right now, many of the mocks that I've been looking at actually have him going to 28 to the Nuggets, and I think that's perfect. Because
I'd like to see him on the Warriors. Oh, we don't have.
Well, of course, yeah.
We don't have a first round pick.
I'd like to see him go to the Cavs, but I'm not. I didn't want to be super biased, but to get to go to Denver and play with a championship contending team and get to play potentially with Jokic, get to learn from Aaron Gordon, who can only help you get better on defense and things like that. And then you take into the account that he can spread the floor and give Jokic even more space on the inside. And he can play in that dunker spot that Aaron Gordon plays in. He definitely has to get a little stronger, but I think the Nuggets at 28 is a damn good spot for him. I saw him also go as high as 22 to the Suns. I don't think that's terrible either.
What do you think about some of the guys higher in the draft? Do you think Kling can make a difference? Shepard? You think any of these guys, the top picks, are it's kind of an unknown draft in a lot of ways.
So it is a weird draft, man, because there's just no clear fire number one. You know who I like the most, but I don't think I would draft him number one is Castle from UConn. Yeah. I like his game a lot, and I like that he is a very, very willing defender. And as a rookie, that helps get you on the floor. Reed Shepard, by all indications, is like one of the best shooting prospects of all time. But I don't think I would draft a 6'1" guy first overall. I don't think I wouldn't do it. Klingon, I like him, but
there's not many guys like him he doesn't have to guard many guys like him in the NBA though.
That's right, and he's decently mobile, but yeah, if you're the Hawks, you draft Klingon, you have to figure out a landing spot for Capella. I don't know, man. The Hawks roster is already in flux. I don't really know what's.
No, I don't think he's number one pick. I don't think
that's what it says. It's what I read today is they were down to Klingon and what's this guy's name? Ricchini. I think he's one of the foreign guys. Let me pull it up again because I just was looking at it earlier.
Klingon to me is an interesting one. He's a really good defender.
He really is. Zachary Risher. From France, sorry.
I'm just saying this. Klingham's number one. I'm a little worried about getting number one results. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not going to be a solid NBA player. You know what I mean? Like, is he Andrew Bogut? Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, and is he worse than Bogut? Probably is. Bogut was way more skilled than this guy.
He was a surefire first pick. Bogut
yeah, because Bogut. The one thing with Bogut is he could post up at that time. He had
his post game was nuts at Utah.
He's always a good passer. So
hook shot, either hand.
What's the famous number one guy you guys drafted? Mr. Bennett, right? He's the best example, right?
I don't really
of a
know.
Bad draft.
Why was that brought up? That didn't have anything.
Because
that was unnecessary. No, Anthony Bennett.
That's the best example of a bad draft.
You know what's so funny about that is he went to the Las Vegas, like when they do the recce thing in Las Vegas, and he played great. I was so sold. I was like, this guy's gonna be great at these like a hybrid.
I liked him at UNLV too.
He's a hybrid 3-4 who was physical and could dunk over people. He was terrible. Oh man, that is a bad pick. That was a
result of a bad draft. I felt like
yes, we got stuck. That we were stuck in a bad draft.
And when you're the number one pick, it's kind of like even if you thought Donovan Mitchell was the best talent at 16 overall, it's kind of like whatever in a draft like that. You're like, it's kind of risky if I take him there, and he's committed to be there with it. So those are some good and bad. Those were some of those things with the news and notes as well. I had and the free agent with it. Doug, any kind of final thoughts on the NBA here as we kind of wrap it up here on our final episode here?
No, not really. I just thought it was another solid season. I thought, playoffs were okay. Injuries definitely derailed that a little bit, but again, Boston, congratulations. I feel like the right team won the championship. I'm hoping my Cleveland Cavaliers can make some maneuvers, get the right coach, get Donovan extended, and be more competitive again next year. So, no, Darren, I enjoyed the year. I definitely enjoyed doing this with you too. So that was my thoughts on the NBA. It was something to look forward to every Friday, getting to come talk NBA hoops with you.
So before we put official stamp, give our final farewells, let's talk about my final thing here. Let's bring him up on the stage here. Passed away. I got Mr. West here on the screen.
Jerry West, always tough to stop. In identifying the NBA's ultimate clutch player, you don't have to look any further than Jerry West.
Watch West. He taps it away.
You got to dunk that. You got to dunk that ball.
1 second. West throws it up. Jerry West made it from the other side of the mid-court stripe.
That's Jerry West. This fella can shoot a little bit.
Oh man, good stuff there. I don't know. I had to bring that up, Doug. On the final love.
This fella can shoot a little bit.
Well, because my father-in-law, he grew up in Hollywood, LA. That's where he went. He went to Hollywood High up there, and so it's funny. And he's 81, and so West was kind of looked upon as like his generation. So it's kind of funny talking to them, and I've read books about him, and obviously he's been GM, and you've seen all the stuff about him over the years. One of the one of my favorite 2-minute videos is him talking about JJ Redick after he called them plumbers. Talk about calling a guy out very sophisticatedly. That was very and I just feel like the logo here. Before we kind of get to the end, I wanted just to say I had never got to watch him play, but based on the way people talk about people, the way as me as a baseball guy, you hear about people talking about Willie Mays, you just know this guy was an elite player. I see him as a GM. Wherever he goes, the team gets better.
Yep.
Everywhere he goes, the team usually even wins a championship. Memphis was nothing until he got there. You get my point? Like, I just feel like we're losing as we're losing in baseball. Looking at tomorrow, we're definitely losing an identity guy / logo here in the NBA. So as we kind of wrap up our final season, I feel like it'd be remiss if we didn't mention the logo here, Jerry West, on the show here. So I don't know, Doug, if you have any thoughts on it.
I 100% do. Jerry West, everything I've ever seen about him, he was the ultimate competitor. He was going to do whatever it took to put his team in a situation to win. And he has one of the best accolades you'll ever see as a player. Winning finals MVP while losing the finals is probably one of the best compliments any player could ever have. And that's still till this day blows my mind that everybody unanimously decided this guy was the best player. We couldn't stop him. We just happened to outlast him. And Jerry West was just insane. I mean, you look at some of those plays, there was nobody stopping Jerry West. He is the logo. He is an all-time great player. You know, he took teams to the finals, and again, to win a finals MVP while losing the finals is just incredible stuff. An icon, a definite icon of the game.
No doubt. And it's kind of fitting. He's our last segment on our show here. I feel like on Double Double puts a kind of a good bow on our run here at Double Double. I want to thank Brandon at Variety Sports Network for giving us a platform here to do it. For me personally, just time has become a factor, and I just haven't been able to commit as much as I would like to the Double Double podcast. So I'll still be doing the seventh inning stretch. I'll be going hard on that. I feel like we'll put a lot of time into that. And of course, I'll see you on Sunday mornings for Fat Boy Fadeaway. But speaking for myself, that's where I'm at with it. I know Doug kind of feels similar. He'll get his as well. But I appreciate anybody that's kind of tuned in over the time here. So, Doug, I'll throw it over to you too for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, first off, I would like to say thank you to Brandon and the Variety Sports Network group for bringing me in and giving me an opportunity to talk about sports and give me multiple opportunities to do different things with the network. That means a lot to me, and you guys definitely gave me a chance, and I definitely appreciate that. Gave me the building blocks to go to and try to do my own thing and build my own projects, and I do appreciate that very, very much. So thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Variety Sports Network. But like you said, Darren, time is a factor, and time has to be equated where you think it's going to be most effective. And while I've enjoyed my time with you and I've enjoyed learning from you and trying to improve on my own part by watching you and following your what you do here, we have other ventures that we maybe feel a little bit more strongly about that we're putting our time into, and we want those to be the best possible shows they can be. And we don't want to do less than on this show. And that's what I think is the overall arcing thing is we don't want to be less than because we're so busy doing other things. And it's been an absolute pleasure for me to work with you, Darren. I'm still going to text you and talk about basketball. I'm still going to do all that stuff that doesn't change. I'm going to hopefully come talk baseball with you in a couple weeks. So nothing changes with our relationship, but we're just not going to work together on screen, and I'm going to miss it, but it's the best for both of us going forward. So thank you, Darren, and thank you, Variety Sports Network, and thank you, Brandon, for the opportunity. I had a really fun year of NBA basketball this past year.
It was kind of fun doing a show every week, man. It was kind of following the season throughout, kind of getting your perspective especially from an East Coast perspective.
Yeah.
When I watch mostly the Western Conference games, it's the way our time works. So I thought that kind of made the show kind of entertaining. Like you said, we'll be on our shows here or there. So you'll be doing your Ohio Talk Sports Show. You're doing a great job over there with Jordan over there. Keep it up over there. We'll be supporting you over there with that. Of course, you'll see me still on Variety Sports Network at Seventh Inning Stretch. Doug mentioned he'll be on in a couple weeks to talk some Reds and some other things there as well. So we'll still do him that, and you'll see some stuff with us X over the timeline there. But yeah, man, it's been fun. I really enjoyed just kind of getting your thoughts on basketball over this time and doing a podcast with you. Basically, like I said, basically the whole year. It's kind of been fun, kind of following the journey of the season as well. So I appreciate you making me better as well. You're here. You show up every week. You know your stuff. That makes me want to get better. Makes me want to do my job better too. So I appreciate your compliments, and I want to show you the same grace. And I really do appreciate your time and your energy, not just to that, but to the network as well. To Variety Sports Network, you've done a lot for us too. So I appreciate that, and I know you're still going to be part of our core there with it going forward and with it. So kind of part of the history of it moving forward. So appreciate you, Doug, with that. And like I said, look forward to our next adventures moving forward with that.
Definitely.
So, yeah. All right. So, Doug, with that said, any final thoughts, sir?
No, just gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it for sure. But we're going in bigger and better directions, hopefully. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Darren. Take us home.
Sounds good. All right. For Doug Stevens, I'm Darren Breyer. Thank you for supporting us all throughout this basketball season. I know out there, appreciate a lot of you have supported us through it. Appreciate the comments throughout the year, keeping us motivated going. So, final say here on the Double Double Podcast, Variety Sports Network. Till next time, Doug Stevens. I'm Darren Breyer. We'll see you next time. Peace.